So I want to take just a moment at the beginning of practice to give you permission or reminder that this is your practice. So please go ahead and take what I'm offering as a suggestion. So go ahead and take a moment here to make your space whatever it is that you need. So you could turn down your lights if you want. You could turn on some music if you'd like, light a candle, turn off your cell phone, whatever it is that would make this space an ideal practice space for you. One of the things I think that people are missing in their practices outside of the yoga studio is a little bit of that ambiance. So feel free to design that for yourself here. And we're going to get started on the mat in a seated position. So I'll invite you to find yourself seated on a couple of folded blankets. If you have a yoga block, you could use your yoga block. Sitting however you'd like to comfortably. So that might be legs crossed or straight. And trying to find yourself right up onto the base of your pelvis. So get yourself there first. I usually like to find like a narrow, high position and take Virasana or hero's pose where you're almost kneeling. And then from there, lean forward, stick your seat way out into the sky and come right back again to where you were sitting. So that, or lean forward and kind of walk your seat back a little bit. So that as best you can experience sitting right up onto the foundation of your being. And I'd like you to visualize for a moment your left sitting bone. See if you can connect to the sensation of your left sitting bone. The bony protrusion right in the center of the fleshy parts of your seat. And then see if you connect to the right sitting bone. So shift your weight now to the right. And then just oscillate between the two. The left sitting bone, the right sitting bone. The left, the right. And then find yourself with your weight positioned equally over both sitting bones. And then imagine the same pelvic shape that we find in cat and cow. So you're going to kind of tilt your pelvis forward to connect more towards the base of your pubic bone. And then tuck your tail back to connect more toward your tailbone. And then forward, you're sort of stretching the belly. Think of lifting up and out of yourself a little bit so there's no compression in your spine. And then back, same idea. Think of lifting or curving kind of out of yourself slightly here. So you're not just loading all through the back of your T-spine. Forward and back, forward and back. Really focused on that those hip creases, folding and unfolding, pubic bone, tailbone, and then find your weight equally weighted between the two places. So you found sort of a center spot between this diamond, halfway between the pubic bone and the tailbone, halfway between your left and your right sitting bone. And now that you've found yourself on this pure foundation, align the rest of your spine as though you're sort of getting yourself onto your spit. So focused on keeping that foundation almost like an outlet plugged or a socket plugged into an outlet, outlet plugged into a socket, plug into a wall. So you're going to get right in there. And then find the rest of your spine orienting itself above that center place. Sometimes I visualize like the crown of my head is on top of the roof of my mouth, is on top of the center of like where my heart beats, is on top of this point. That center point of foundation. And then really driving this movement from your hips, make a little bit of a circular motion. So almost imagine like with the very base of your spine, you're kind of scraping the edges of a jar of peanut butter or jar of Nutella or I don't know, fluffer, nutter, or whatever, jar of something that you'd like to imagine, and then go the other way and get really into those edges that you might have skipped the first time around. Getting mushy and soft in the places that can sometimes get pretty stuck and stale throughout our day. So feel free, if the position that you found yourself in, your legs, isn't really serving you, feel free to shift and adjust that position. You're not married to, you're not stuck with that. You don't have to be a statue. And then readjust left and right, forward and back, finding your foundation. And with that, we're gonna reach both arms straight up in the air. So keep connected through your seat and notice how far you can bring your arms before your actual spine starts to lift. So keep yourself on that spit. Crown of the head, roof of the mouth, center of the heart, right base of your pelvis stays on the spit. The arms reach up and then they reach back. Inhale up, stay on that spit, exhale back. And as you reach back, not only just back, but try to bring the hands as close to one another as you can. Inhale up, exhale back. We'll just do that 2 more times. So we're working on mobilization in this one part of the body and real stabilization in this other part. The next time your arms are up, let's keep them up. Take your left hand, drop it down, and your right hand reaches across, maybe to your left thigh, maybe to your knee, whatever's you could sort of grab of yourself, and then back up on your inhale, and as you exhale, the other way. In and out. And I want you to try this 2 ways. First, keep those sitting bones plugged in and keep them really focused on plugged in as you find your twist. So as I twist to my left, I'm going to really ground through the right. And as I twist to the right, I'm going to really ground through the left. And after you've tried that version a couple times, try using that sitting bone and that hip to propel you into this twist. So stay on your spit, but as you inhale up, as you exhale and twist to the left, you're going to send your right hip forward as though your twist is sort of being propelled by that hip. Twisting. Inhale to center. Exhale, you're going to push that left hip not just forward, but forward and around. Maybe your head follows as well. And notice what changes here when we change the foundation, the twist. You're welcome to pause in your twist for a couple of breaths and kind of take stock. Version 1, version 2. So I'm still just as grounded through my sitting bone. It's just coming forward and over, but I'm not actually lifting away from it. And after you've done that for a couple times, coming back towards center, relaxing the arms, anytime moving how you're craving movement. I'm going to give you a few options for your arms. The first is the arms can come to the shoulders. The arms could also come to the heart. You could interlace your fingers and bring them to the top of the head or the back of the head, just choosing whichever option feels most needed in your body. If you're bringing the arms to make contact or their hands to make contact with the head, back or top, make sure you're not pushing the hands down into the head, but instead pushing up into the hands. And then we're going to start little tiny spins. So here I want you to keep your hips as if they had headlights on them and the headlights are shining straight ahead. Belly button stays pointing forward. So from the upper body, up, you're going to do these little twists, 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 and they're pretty small. And here's the thing about these twists. If you feel like you've been running and going and, you know, having like a little fire to yourself all day, then maybe you're craving a little bit of slow, really mindful ability to turn inwards twists. If you've been kind of stagnant today and you wouldn't mind a little bit of fire, maybe they're a little faster. So bring whatever version you need in these twists as you go side to side. Yeah, that's right. Sarah, push back into your hands a little if they're going to go up. So your head, yes. So your head isn't going to be pushed forward or back. And in doing so, you're actually going to strengthen the neck, which is a great skill. If you have a lot of neck pain, strengthening the neck is amazing. So we're going to do that just a couple more times. And then come back to center, choose one of those arm options, and we're going to go kayaking. So elbows go down while the other one goes up. Kayaking, yeah. Whenever I do this, I have a tendency to kind of roll forward and look down. So if you find yourself doing the same, imagine this like invisible line lifting like a little fishing wire, your heart up to where the wall meets the ceiling. And remember that you're not just bending back when you do something like that, you're kind of lifting up out of yourself. Change directions now, kayak away from whatever you were going towards. Remember the options, you could always bring your hands towards the heart or any version. You could go for a little airplane ride if you want instead. And then come back towards center. I'm going to let my arms hang. You can bring your arms to wherever you want. Feel what you feel here. Notice what you notice. So we're going to come to lie now onto the back. A lot of us get really stuck in the positions that we find ourselves in, whether it's while we're sleeping or while we're working. And we have this like problem with a lack of variability in our movements. So what happens in our bodies is they get kind of stiff and stagnant as a result. So when you come onto your back, have your knees bent, your feet to the mat. Feel free to windshield wiper the legs a little side to side. And if when you come to lie back onto your back, you feel like there's a compression, a feeling of compression or tightness in the back of your neck, feel free to bring a little folded blanket under your head. Just your head and your neck, not your shoulders. As high or as low as you'd like. So I find sometimes when I come to lie on my back like this, I'm going to just move my arm out of the way so you can see. I have found that I'm like tucking my tail and flattening out my low back. Whereas if I was like in a neutral spine, standing up straight, I would have that little curvature of the low back. So let's try just experimenting. If you do find your back is kind of flattened out, lean a little over to one side and imagine like you're pulling your seat up towards your ribs just a little bit so that instead of resting on your flat part of your back, you're resting on the place where your round seat becomes your flat back. And then roll onto that side, lift the right side a little bit. So when you come back to center, what you ought to be is resting right on the sacrum, which is like the place just above your seat, like literally just above your seat. And in doing so, you'll have re-found that little curvature of your low back. So just take a moment to really bring your vision, bring your hearing, bring all of your attention inwards and notice what this feels like. Not just in the first place you feel sensation. So maybe you notice a difference in your hip crease. Maybe you notice a different sensation in your back. But also notice what you feel in your chest, which parts of your back are making connection with the ground, where it feels like your breath is able to expand into. And then do like a side-by-side comparison so you can make a choice. Now roll over, flatten that out. So it's like you're sending your seat now towards your heels. come to center and notice what that feels like. Not just in your back, but what does that feel like through your hip creases, through your chest? Which parts of your back are making contact with the mat? And then once you've had the opportunity to experience both options, maybe choosing which one best serves you today, or choosing a completely different option if you'd so desire. So regardless of which option you found yourself in, I'd like you to take notice of which parts of your spine are making contact with the mat or the blanket. So if you imagine you had X-ray vision and you could see each of your individual vertebrae, they'd run from right at the base of your skull to all the way down your back to below your tail, below your sacrum, into the top of your seat. And then imagine like each of those little vertebrae had a suction cup attached to it. And you're going to start with just your tail, lifting your tail off the floor. So you kind of have to tilt the tail towards your knees to lift just your tail off the floor. So really all that happens is just a tilt and then lower back down. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, tilt the tail, lift the tail and the first couple of vertebrae. So you would imagine like those suction cups are coming off the ground, just one or two, and then untilt to roll back down. You're going to tilt the tail, roll, lifting one or two or three vertebrae, and you're going to keep going. So it's a little bit of a practice of patience, a little bit of a practice of imagination and internal feeling or felt sense. So you're going to be breaking your habitual movement patterns as you find these little rolls up and down the spine, really trying not just on the way up, but on the way down as well, to imagine you could move your spine like a serpent, rolling up vertebrae by vertebrae, rolling down vertebrae by vertebrae. Keep connected to the feet. If you find your knees going out, you could bring a block or a blanket between the knees, rolling up, rolling down, patiently making your way through the spine. And again, here we are mobilizing parts of the spine that we don't often mobilize, strengthening other parts of the spine we maybe don't always strengthen. We're going to roll all the way up towards the shoulders, so you could bend your arms and push the upper arms into the floor to kind of help get that lift into the upper chest part of the spine if you need to. Can you find that same sort of rolling motion or curvature even in the upper part of your back, where the sternum and the rib cage makes it pretty difficult to round out in that way? Just doing the best you can for a couple more times. And after you've done that, maybe one more time, we'll come back to where we started. Lying on the back, knees bent, feet to the earth. Letting the arms come down by your sides, I'll invite you to turn the palms up and very slowly slide the arms a little wider. So notice which parts of your arms and hands are making contact with the floor when they're close to your body. And only letting the arms go as far away from your body as they can while still maintaining those connections. So don't just think about reaching the arms up like you're making a little snow angel, but also out a little away from the shoulder blade. And as soon as you feel those elbows lift or the wrists lift, you've gone just a wee bit too far, so come back down. So we're finding just a slight opening for the chest. Heel toe your feet now to be about as wide as your mat or a little wider even. And very slowly let both knees move towards the left and then both towards the right. So I'd like you to stay connected like fly to fly paper through the shoulders, through the arms, through the back of the head, and just moving the legs. And then experiment what happens as you move your legs left if your top leg or your right leg kind of moves out a little further or a little closer. So heel toe your feet into different placements here. Toes together, what changes? Or toes rather pointing towards each other. Toes pointing away from each other, what changes? So every time that you find yourself moving to the other side, find a slight variation on this simple movement. The next time both legs over to the left, I'd like you to leave them there. Well, let's come back to center first and come back to our simple feet about hip, or rather mat distance away from each other, and maybe a slight V shape. Then both thighs over towards the left. Keep the right shoulder grounded, and you're only going so far that there's no pinching or pain. Now the legs will still continue to drop towards the earth, but you're going to take your right leg, your top leg, and move it up and away from the left, but don't let your hips move, so the left leg stays where it is, and then back down. So you're just rotating that right leg in the hip socket. So don't go so far that your hips shift back towards center at all. Keeping that left leg stable by keeping the hips stable, stabilizing really the whole body except that right hip crease. And then let both legs shift over to the right. Make sure there's no pinching or pain. You're still grounded through shoulders, through the arms, and moving the left leg in the hip socket. You're going to just rotate it out and in, and do that 2 or 3 times. And then come on back to center. Take a few breaths, noticing what you notice here. Good. I'll get you to roll over to the stomach now. And if for whatever reason lying on your stomach doesn't feel comfortable, you're welcome to stand and just bring your body towards a wall if you'd prefer. So if you're going to do this against the wall, you'll do the exact same thing, just you'll have a different relationship with gravity. So we'll start off, let's start off with the arms reaching above the head. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to roll onto your right hip, and when you do so, you're going to roll onto your right arm as well. If for some reason that's not comfortable, you could bring a blanket under your head instead. So for now, let's come both arms above the head, and then lift your left leg up, bend your left elbow to bring your left hand to the floor to help you propel here. You're going to swing your left leg over your right leg and roll onto your side. So with the right side of my body, it's almost like I'm sleeping on the right. You could bend the knee if you want, have it straight at the bottom. With your top leg, bend the knee and let the toe come towards the ground, and then slowly let it slide back. So the intention here is to open up the front of your left hip. And there's a lot of choice you can make here. You can use your left hand to also open up here all the way over so that you're facing the ceiling. You could stay on your side and circle the leg. Let's do the same on the other side. So bring your left arm overhead, right hand down, swing that right leg over, slide it back, toe down, knee up, so you get that opening in the front of your hip. That's it. You can stay with your right hand down. You could swing it up and open it as well. Go ahead and move your body however it's craving. If you're feeling pinchy in your low back when you come to swing your leg over, bend your extended leg, the one that's on the ground, and do just a little bit of like a pelvic thrust. You're going to bring your hips closer to your ribs on the front of your body, ironing out that pinchy place. So go ahead and swing back and forth or linger on just one side. You could be there for a breath. You could be there for a few. Know that your body knows what it needs to be well, to feel well. So for just this moment or this movement, trust whatever comes up for you, however you want to move. If your body's saying no thank you, then you can skip this movement altogether. Know that the intention is open the front of those hips, but we're not going to do so at the sacrifice of another part of the body. Yeah, go ahead and do a couple more before we'll all meet in the center. If your space doesn't allow for you to swing your legs in that way, how else could you find a little opening in the front of your hips? This space that's often compressed throughout our day if we find ourselves seated. Once you've done this another couple of times, we're going to come back to center and in your own way, make yourself towards a seated shape. Seated however you comfortably find foundation. So in the option that I've chosen now, my hips are still higher than my knees. And if you're feeling if you're in a similar position and you're feeling any sort of pain or sensation in the knees or in the hips, you're always welcome to bring some props underneath your thighs or underneath your knees to support. Let's reassess and adjust ourselves and align ourselves onto that foundation once again. Sort of the in-between point of the sitting bone to sitting bone, pubic bone to tailbone. And then align the rest of your body on that same spit. Crown above palate, right above the same spot that your tongue would hit the roof of your mouth if you said the word love, said the word light, said the word alleluia, of your heart and above this foundation of yourself. Now staying plugged into your center, take an in breath. As you exhale, take your left hand out towards the side and your right arm up and take a little side bend here. So I'm going to mirror you here. Come back to center. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. And as you side bend, I really want you to imagine yourself between two waterfalls. So as you move to the side, you're not going to get wet. You're not going to go forward or back. Stay between those waterfalls. Flow with your breath. And I also want you to have the intention of lengthening through both sides of your body. So even as one side is compressed, can you adjust the way your hips are and in your imagination stay long through both sides of the body. Really resist compressing one side any more than is needed. Lengthening as you find the side bend. And if you're able to stay connected through the base of your pelvis here, you'll find that your legs don't shift at all. So it's really a movement that's focused on the upper body. Once you've done that a couple more times, we'll come back to center. Feeling what you feel, notice what you notice. Maybe closing the eyes 9/10 of the way, going deep without going all the way deep. And the most challenging and advanced breath practice that we have, breath awareness. And the reason why this is the most challenging is because it asks us to remove control and step back and watch the breath as it is in our bodies. Watching your own in-breath, watching your own out-breath, watching the pauses between them. Noticing the temperature of the breath on its way in and out. Noticing where in your body the breath seems to go. And the reason why it's so challenging is that the goal is to notice without changing the breath or judging the breath or expecting the breath to be something other than exactly as it is. So I'd like you to take one hand and make like a shape as though you're holding a big softball in your hand. It's like a claw-like shape. I'll move closer to my screen just so that you can see what I mean here. Hello. Kind of going to make this shape like a kitty cat. And you're going to place that on your chest, ideally on your skin, down right about 3/4 of the way down your sternum. So like a deep V-neck shirt, you're at the bottom of the V-neck. And then you're going to gently, it's hard to do if you have nails, so you might have to use like the pads of your fingers if you have nails. You're going to gently push in and stick to your own skin and twist a little in one direction. Try to spread your fingers as equally distant around the circle as you can. And then twist one more time. So twist just a little further. Pull up on the pinky finger over with the thumb. And then let that go. And we'll do the same thing with the other hand, twisting the other direction. So making contact against your skin. What we're doing here, so to give a little twist, is we're adjusting through the fascia. So as our fascia gets sort of held or stuck in one position, twist a little further. Here we're kind of breaking it out of those stale, stuck places. And then let that go. Bring the hand down, take a few breaths, and notice your breath. And then share that awareness, not just through your breath, but also to your whole self. How are you feeling in this moment? What are you craving? In a moment, we're going to move to our last pose, which is our pose of integration and relaxation. So before we do so, I'll invite you to find any movements that your body might be craving. If you're craving downward dog, if you're craving child's pose, if you're craving something that might not even be a yoga pose at all, maybe you're craving looking out the window. Maybe you're craving a drink of water or to use the facilities, anything that you need to make yourself comfortable. I'm craving my slippers in this moment. And if you need a little bit longer to find whatever it is your body's craving in this moment, or to serve whatever it is your body needs, then take all of the time that you need to do that. Move again or longer. You don't have to necessarily be exactly guided by my timing either. Maybe what you're craving is a little bit of movement, a little bit of dance, a little bit of breath work, humming, singing. Maybe you're craving rest. So go ahead and make your way, if rest is what you find yourself craving, go ahead and make your way in the next few moments towards a pose of integration. Any shape where you feel like you can physically relax and be comfortable. And you can trust that I'll hold space for you in this shape so I don't practice it alongside you because otherwise I might start snoring. Instead, I'll hold space for you here to bring you back, to keep time. Once you get into your shape of integration, really allow yourself to feel an embodied sense of what is happening for yourself in this moment. Sometimes our vision or our imagined sense of what this shape will feel like or our experiences we've had in this pose in the past inform our actual experience at the moment. So strip away past experiences with this pose, strip away expectations or imagined felt sense, and really be present for what your body needs today in this moment. You're welcome to shift and adjust yourself here. And if needed, you might choose to find yourself into an entirely different pose. Maybe it's just not working today. Letting the eyes stay open or partly closed. Imagine like you could bring your sense of vision inwards. See what it is you need. See what insight might be uncovered for yourself here. Imagine turning your hearing sense inwards, further and further and further away from the world around you, to listen to the deepest, truest voice in yourself. Notice tension and ease. And continue to experience this resting pose until you hear my voice again. Notice that you're breathing here. And use that connection to your breath to open up your awareness to the space around you, the space you're in, all the elements of yourself within that space, your physical, felt sense, where your mind is, what your breath is doing. Start to awaken the body by moving the arms, the legs, the fingers. And as you invite awareness back to yourself, I have a very short quote I'll share with you as you come towards seated. And it says, move beyond the limitations of your known reality by learning to be with the discomfort of not knowing what's to come. So with that, I'll invite us all back to the center of our circumference here. This moment in time, this moment in the seasons, this moment in your day. You're welcome to join me in giving gratitude to the people upon whose land we practice. In gratitude to our teachers, to the lineage for carrying these learnings down. In gratitude to ourselves for being open to receive, for being part of this process, for being this intermediary between the past and the future. So thank you all so much for joining me in practice this evening.